Forget the 5-year plan and the follow your passion posters. Most of the advice you've been given is actually a map to a life of regret. If you're tired of swimming upstream, it's time to stop trying to be anything and start becoming the one thing that actually matters. We've all heard it. It's the ultimate feel-good anthem whispered in classrooms, shouted at graduations, and printed in shimmering gold foil on every other motivational poster. You can be anything you want to be. It sounds liberating, doesn't it? It suggests that your life is a vast, white, infinite blank canvas, and you are the master artist with an unlimited palette. But if we're being honest, that's not just a white lie. It's a dangerous one. When we tell ourselves we can be anything, we often end up becoming nothing, paralyzed by 1,000 choices, or exhausted by the pursuit of a version of ourselves that was never meant to exist. Think about it. If the blank canvas theory were true, I'd be a legendary athlete or a concert pianist by now. But the reality is that we are born with certain predispositions, certain ways our brains are wired, and certain things we are just, frankly, mediocre at. For most of my life, I fell for the trap of trying to fix my weaknesses. I thought that if I just worked hard enough at organizing logistics or managing complex spreadsheets, I could turn those flaws into strengths. I spent years in that grind, feeling like I was swimming upstream, only to realize that even at my absolute best, I was still just okay at those things. The breakthrough happens when you stop looking at your life as a blank canvas and start looking at it as a piece of sculpture. In sculpture, you don't add whatever you want. You chip away what doesn't belong to reveal the form that was already inside the stone. Your life isn't about infinite possibilities. It's about specific, powerful probabilities. Instead of trying to be anything, the goal is to find your something. There is a specific, narrow patch of land where your life actually catches fire. It's the intersection of 4 very real circles: what you actually enjoy doing, what you are naturally good at, what the world is willing to pay for, and what people actually need. In Japanese culture, they call this ikigai. It's not a wide open field, it's a bullseye. When you focus on your strengths, everything changes. You stop being a frustrated, mediocre version of someone else and start being an exceptional version of yourself. This doesn't mean you stop growing or learning. Far from it. It means you stop wasting your limited energy trying to move your math skills from a 2 to a 4, and you start moving your storytelling skills from an 8 to a 10. That's where the magic happens. That's where you stop being replaceable. When you embrace the limits of your canvas, you actually gain freedom. You stop feeling guilty for the things you aren't good at. You start saying no to opportunities that don't fit your wiring, and yes to the things that make you feel alive and effective. You realize that you don't need to be a jack of all trades. You just need to be the master of that one specific, beautiful intersection where your talent meets the world's needs. That's not a limitation, it's your competitive advantage. It's how you build a life you're actually proud of, instead of one spent chasing a ghost. We like to think of our lives as a grand game of chess. We sit back, chin in hand, staring at the board of our future, trying to calculate 10 moves ahead. If I take this internship, it leads to that promotion, which sets me up for the senior VP role by 35, which inevitably lands me in the corner office by 45. It's meticulous. It's logical. It's also, quite often, a complete fantasy. The problem with approaching life like a series of strategic chess moves is that it assumes the board is stable and the pieces always move the way you expect. But life isn't chess. It's more like bumper cars. You're strapped into this small, vibrating machine, trying to steer toward a goal, but you're constantly getting slammed from the side by an unexpected economy, a health scare, a sudden change of heart, or a global shift you never saw coming. Sometimes you're the one steering, and sometimes you're just dealing with the kinetic energy of everyone else hitting you. When we live strictly by a chess move mindset, we make decisions for instrumental reasons. These are the building block choices. We do things we don't like today because we think they'll buy us something we want tomorrow. We study a subject that bores us to tears because it's safe. We stay in a toxic work environment because we think we need that specific brand name on our resume to get to the next square. We treat our present self like a disposable tool for a future self that hasn't even arrived yet. But here is the danger. The future is a moving target. If you spend 20 years doing things you hate to reach a promised land, you might arrive there only to realize the land has changed, or worse, you have changed. You might find that the corner office feels like a cage because you've sacrificed your curiosity to get there. The alternative, and the secret of the most fulfilled people I've ever met, is making decisions for fundamental reasons. This is the antithesis of the rigid 5-year plan. A fundamental decision is one you make because the work itself is inherently valuable, interesting, or meaningful right now. You take the job because the people are brilliant and the problems are fascinating, even if you aren't 100% sure where it leads on a flowchart. You study the topic because it sets your brain on fire, trusting that being an engaged, high-functioning version of yourself is more valuable than being a bored specialist. When you shift from chess to bumper cars, you stop worrying about the perfect line of sight and start focusing on your momentum. If you look at the careers of people who have left a real dent in the universe, their paths almost never look like a straight, diagonal line. They look like a chaotic, tangled web of pivots, setbacks, and happy accidents. They got where they are not because they followed a map, but because they had a compass. By making fundamental choices, you stay agile. When life bumps you off course, and it will, you aren't devastated because your perfect plan is ruined. Instead, you're still standing on a foundation of skills and experiences that you actually enjoyed acquiring. You become someone who isn't just trying to checkmate life, but someone who knows how to drive the car, enjoy the ride, and find the next interesting opening in the middle of the chaos. Stop planning for a future that doesn't exist yet and start doing things that matter today. That is how you actually get somewhere worth going. Real growth isn't about a sudden stroke of luck. It's about that momentum we just talked about. Making those fundamental decisions every single day. If you're ready to stop over-planning and start actually doing, I've mapped out the first leg of that journey for you. My ebook, 30 Days to a Better You, is designed to help you strip away the noise and focus on the daily habits that build real mass. Grab your copy at the link below, and let's start moving the car. If you can be anything is a white lie, then follow your passion is the heavyweight champion of destructive advice. It's the ultimate cliche, whispered by career coaches and printed on every second graduation card. It sounds so romantic, doesn't it? The idea that somewhere deep inside you, there is a glowing ember of passion, and if you just find it and follow it, work will never feel like work again. You'll just float through your days on a cloud of inspiration and effortless productivity. But let's get real. Follow your passion is actually a recipe for deep anxiety. It puts immense pressure on you to have a perfect, cinematic answer to the question, what do you love? If you don't have a burning, singular obsession, you feel like you're broken. It turns your career into a narcissistic spin cycle where you are constantly gazing into the mirror, wondering if you're feeling enough spark today. Here is the cold, hard truth that nobody tells you at graduation. The world doesn't actually care about your passion. The world cares about what you can contribute. The world cares about the problems you can solve and the value you can create. And more importantly, passion is often a byproduct of mastery, not the prerequisite for it. You don't find passion by thinking about it. You build it by doing the work. So, instead of asking, what is my passion? I want you to ask a much more grounded, much more honest question. What is the torture I'm willing to endure? Every path to greatness, every meaningful contribution comes with a specific kind of torture. If you want to be a world-class coder, you have to tolerate the torture of staring at a screen for 10 hours a day, hunting for a single misplaced semicolon that's breaking the entire system. If you want to be a great writer, you have to endure the torture of the blank page and the 1,000 shitty first drafts that come before the one good one. Even the most passionate people have days where they hate their jobs. Writing 7 books and thousands of articles doesn't feel like a passion when it's 2 a.m. and the sentences won't cooperate. It feels like a grind. The difference between people who build a meaningful life and those who wash out is that the successful ones found a torture they could tolerate and eventually even enjoy. They found a set of problems that were so interesting to them that they were willing to suffer through the boring parts, the difficult parts, and the repetitive parts to solve them. Think about what you do when nobody is watching. Think about the rabbit holes you fall down, the topics you research for hours just because you're curious, or the things you do even when they're difficult and unglamorous. That is where the clues live. Effort leads to self-discovery, not the other way around. You don't wait for a feeling of passion to start. You start working, you get good at it, and the satisfaction of being effective, of making a tangible contribution, becomes the fuel that keeps you going. Stop looking for a spark and start looking for a spade. Pick it up and start digging. Find a way to be useful. Find a problem that needs solving and commit to the torture required to solve it. When you stop obsessing over how you feel about your work and start focusing on the value of the work itself, you'll find that passion eventually shows up all on its own, uninvited and unexpected, as a reward for your persistence. In a world obsessed with curated perfection, there is a loud, persistent whisper telling you that the goal of life is to be happy all the time. We are flooded with good vibes only mantras and the idea that if we aren't radiating positivity from the moment we wake up, we're doing something wrong. We've turned happiness into a metric of success, and in doing so, we've made ourselves miserable. This toxic positivity suggests that any negative emotion is a bug in the system, a glitch that needs to be patched out with a forced smile or a new breathing technique. But here's the truth. Constant positivity is often just denial in yoga pants. If you're smiling through a root canal, you aren't enlightened. You're just disconnected from reality. A meaningful life isn't one devoid of negative emotions. It's one that knows how to use them. We need to stop viewing things like regret, frustration, and anxiety as enemies to be defeated and start seeing them as useful friction. Think of a car. Without the friction between the tires and the road, you wouldn't move forward. You'd just spin your wheels in place. Negative emotions are the friction that provides traction in the real world. They are instructive, clarifying, and deeply human. Take regret, for example. We are told to live with no regrets, but that is actually terrible advice. Regret is a cognitive superpower. It is the brain's way of looking at a past mistake and saying, "Hey, that didn't work. Let's not do that again." When we feel that sharp sting of regret, it's a signal that we've drifted away from our values. It's a teacher that clarifies what we actually care about. Without it, we would never learn, never grow, and never improve. Frustration is another one. We often try to calm down when we're frustrated, but frustration is usually just internal energy looking for an exit. It's the feeling of a gap between where you are and where you know you could be. It's a nudge from your psyche telling you that the current path is blocked and it's time to find an alternative. When you embrace that friction instead of suppressing it, you can use that energy to innovate, to pivot, and to push through obstacles that would have stopped a perfectly positive person in their tracks. The science is actually quite clear on this. Positive emotions like joy and gratitude are essential for our long-term health and well-being. We should absolutely aim to be positive most of the time, but we shouldn't aim for all the time. A life of 100% positivity is a flat, one-dimensional existence. It's the shadows that give a landscape its depth. When we allow ourselves to feel the full spectrum of the human experience, including the uncomfortable parts, we actually become more resilient. We stop being afraid of bad days because we know those days are where the lessons are hidden. We stop feeling like failures when we're sad and start asking what that sadness is trying to tell us. Building a life you're proud of requires the courage to sit with the discomfort. It requires you to acknowledge that the torture of the work, the sting of a setback, and the weight of a hard decision are all part of the architecture of greatness. Don't chase a life of empty smiles. Chase a life of depth, where your joy is hard-won and your negative emotions are the fuel for your next big leap. Embrace the friction. It's the only way to ensure you're actually moving. We've all seen them. The people who treat every human interaction like a transaction. They move through rooms with a stack of business cards and a rehearsed elevator pitch, eyes constantly darting over your shoulder to see if there's someone more important to talk to. They live by the cynical old mantra, "It's not what you know, it's who you know." It's a worldview that paints life as one giant, greasy networking event where the only way to get ahead is to know the right person in the secret cabal of power. But here's the problem with that strategy. It's exhausting, it's shallow, and frankly, it's a bad way to build a career. When you prioritize who you know over what you know, you are essentially building a house on stilts. You might get a foot in the door because of a connection, but if you don't have the actual skill to back it up once you're inside, that door is going to hit you on the way out. I want to propose a different strategy. Instead of chasing people, I want you to focus on gravity. In the physical world, gravity is a force that pulls things toward a center of mass. In the professional world, your mass is your expertise, your reliability, and the sheer quality of your work. When you spend your time becoming exceptionally good at what you do, when you master your craft and deliver results that actually solve problems, you create a gravitational pull. The who you know part of the equation starts to take care of itself because the right people are naturally drawn into your orbit. Think about the people you truly admire in your field. Did they get there by collecting LinkedIn connections like Pokemon cards? Probably not. They got there by doing excellent work, keeping their promises, and being the kind of person others actually want to work with. Reputation isn't something you build through a PR campaign. It's the byproduct of what you do when no one is watching. It's the what you know that eventually expands the universe of who you know. When you focus on mastery, your network becomes organic rather than forced. Instead of a list of names you barely remember, you end up with a circle of peers, mentors, and collaborators who respect you because they've seen what you can do. These connections are infinitely more valuable than 1,000 handshake contacts because they are rooted in trust and proven value. There's also a second part to this strategy: being a decent, generous human being. The best kind of networking doesn't look like networking at all. It looks like being helpful. When you use your expertise to help others succeed, without immediately asking for something in return, you increase your gravitational pull. You become a node in your industry, someone people want to refer others to, not because you asked them to, but because they genuinely believe in your work and your character. Stop worrying about which yacht party you weren't invited to. Stop stressing over the hidden paths to success that you think only the insiders know about. There is no secret cabal. There is only a market that is hungry for people who actually know their stuff and can be trusted to deliver. Invest your time in getting good, real good. Become the person who has the answers, the person who stays calm in a crisis, the person whose work speaks for itself. When you do that, you'll find that the who you know part of your life stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like a natural consequence of your excellence. Focus on the work, build your mass, and let the world come to you.